Back in action, stacks at bat. The numbers, really quick update here on Supermicro Computer Incorporated, ticker symbol SMCI, listed here on the NASDAQ. This is one that everyone's watching and waiting to see. The numbers were good, but were they overinflated? Is there nepotism? The auditor resigned, and the stock, as we see, dropped again today. It was right at the open, and the stock dropped down to new lows of 23.90 and then climbed all the way back up to about 28 and then flattened out for the last couple of hours going into earnings. And I just wanted to show one level that I'm watching here in the technicals. First of all, I was talking about this line here to try to reclaim it, and we can see that we've consistently just dropped and dropped. So we have big volume coming out of the stock over the last couple of months. So it seems like a lot of people started to jump ship right as the bad news started to come out, and the stock got absolutely decimated. I do want to remind you quickly that it was like here. It was like mid-November of last year, almost a year ago to the day, where I initially mentioned SMCI in a video. I think we were talking about like Lucid or ChargePoint or something, and I brought up SMCI and I said, you see the way the revenue is growing over the years, the stock's been on the up and up. Right before that, stock was slowly and steadily on the up and up, and I said, in my opinion, this is the kind of stock you should keep an eye on. And after that, it absolutely exploded, as we saw. The revenue started to chunk in, the guidance was raised, and of course, the word spread, everyone jumped in, and then it got listed on the S&P, and then miraculously, after getting listed on the S&P, all of a sudden it's a piece of crap, and there's, issues behind the door, and mad shady shit taking place. But anyway, I mentioned, in my opinion, about my personal prediction about what I feel is really taking place here, because they were saying that Dell may now benefit from the business that is lost from SMCI, and I believe the news that just hit was Nvidia is going to like suspend orders from SMCI until, of course, all of this gets cleared up. And that's why people were saying, oh, Dell may pick up the crumbs from the fallout. And Dell got listed on the S&P at the same time that SMCI did. But of course, we're only investigating, we're only keeping down SMCI. Again, this is all based off of the Hindenburg report. They are apparently the white knights of the market. Now, the whole time the company and the business was growing and everything was great and they got added to the S&P, no one had an issue. And then after, I assume they all missed the boat and wanted to buy it for a cheaper price. Okay. Wait. Reverse stock split. Okay. So yeah, in my opinion, I think they missed the boat, and I still say that one shorted it for another one to buy it. And we also mentioned again that they were connected to Nvidia and they were benefiting off of this AI boom and the big surge in demand that Nvidia has saw. And we're seeing this kind of lift all tech stocks across the board for the most part in general. And that's why I was speculating SMCI, they may be bringing it down and beating it up. And then, we may find out, for all we know, that there may not be too many accounting issues behind closed doors. And then the stock may bottom out, start to rebound. And like I said, I'm expecting someone like Nvidia to step in and try to buy the company out for pennies on the dollar now. I mean, the stock is down. We went from, it was a 10-for-1 split. So we were above 1,200. Now we're technically down to $260. So the stock's down like 75-80%. Since hitting those highs, and all of this happened just over about the last 6-7 months. So it just seems odd, in my opinion. The timing really came out of left field, and that's why I was kind of going down the rabbit hole talking about any out of the box thinking and potential acquisitions that may be coming down the road. Because again, for years no one had an issue. And I know people always say, well, they did this back in 2018, so they're probably doing it again. Yeah, but how come there was no investigation and no one supposedly kept them under the microscope for 2019, 2020, 2021, 2022, right? You understand my point? Now all of a sudden we get listed on the S&P, and now we inspect the company under a magnifying glass, launch a DOJ investigation, and all of a sudden, oh yeah, the brother is, doing something, and there you go. That's why the stock should be down. But I will say this, though, on the technical side. Look, we come back here. Last time we had this gap up, you can see from the bottom to the top, and then we tightened, and then we popped up out of that triangle. It looks like it made. But if we go from the high right here, we're talking 35.70. And if we cut across this high, Look at that. You're looking at about 20 bucks potentially. Now, supposedly, I heard that there's no earnings coming out, but they're going to do a business report. I have no idea, honestly, how to interpret half the crap that I'm reading about this company. But we can see earnings were expected to climb up, and we were expecting an EPS report of 73 and a third cents a share. This company is very profitable, and we have estimates of revenue of about 6.44 billion. So, I mean, we might get some numbers, we might not, I don't know. But I have a feeling that we may chunk it down even more and come back down to $20 again, which is roughly $200 pre-split after the stock just ran to above 1,200. So again, mind you, before the word spread, it had the breakup, it beefed up the guidance, it mentioned the surge in business from NVIDIA, and analysts were talking about how undervalued it was. Everyone was speculating it gets listed on the S&P, and then it does, and it explodes. And remember, this whole time, we had no issue. And we are now technically below where we were before all of this hype came in. So we have now essentially reset this stock, right? So after the growth and the demand that they've been seeing, to essentially reset it and even bring it lower than where it was, bringing it down to sub 24, new 52-week lows here after this run-up. This is why I'm saying, in my opinion, it can remain volatile, but, you know, everyone, these people better hope that this report does turn out to be dismal for SMCI, because if not, the stock is probably immediately going to spike back. Even here is unjustified. The stock should be here. Honestly, in my opinion, stock should be here. So, like I said, it's something like this where, again, in my opinion, it's easier to react as opposed to predict. So I appreciate the fact if everyone's waiting for all of this to clear, let's find out exactly what happened, and then we can determine, okay, is the stock, you know, should it not be touched for a couple of months, or should you step in and buy it immediately because it's going to regain all of this value? And again, I know it's a little dangerous to predict, but I don't know. In my opinion, it really might be worth the risk. It might be worth the risk, but let's see what some of this recent news is saying. Web of family ties complicate Supermicro's accounting issues. Until recently, family ties that bind Supermicro's CEO to some of the server maker's biggest suppliers had been of little apparent concern to investors and analysts, right? Just until recently. That's what I mean. So supposedly this happened in 2018, and it's been happening since then, but now it's an issue. That's why I was speculating, in my opinion, that NVIDIA may try to buy this company out for pennies on the dollar and just kind of gloss over all this negativity, because I feel that NVIDIA needs SMCI more than people think, which is probably why, as NVIDIA started to see the growth in demand, SMCI's guidance and future revenue absolutely exploded. Again, we're expecting close to 100% growth in revenue here year over year, and then all of a sudden now we have issues taking place. So wife is on the board. His brothers run the Taiwan-based firms that manufacture server enclosures, power supplies, and other vital components for Supermicro products. Even as the Silicon Valley-based company disclosed those relationships in its financial filings, its stock shot up more than 300% between the start of the year and mid-March, when it peaked around 119 a share, fueled by surging demand from data center operators. But with the company's auditor resigning late last month, citing an unwillingness to be, quote, associated with the financial statements prepared by management, the insider transactions could attract fresh scrutiny. The company's shares closed at 26.05, erasing all gains. Shares were flat in Monday trading, well, after dropping to new lows. On Tuesday, SMCI scheduled to release a, quote, business update on its first fiscal quarter, covering the 3 months ended September 30th. And in my opinion, just like previous quarters, I would probably give them the benefit of the doubt that they are going to be close or potentially even beat those estimates based off of this surging demand. Its auditor, Ernst & Young, had previously told SMCI's audit committee had concerns about, quote, matters relating to governance, transparency, and completeness of communications. Such concerns may involve issues surrounding dealings with related parties, says accounting expert who writes about auditing and corporate governance issues as author. Yep. Auditors, quote, have to understand the full scope of the company's activities, including, quote, what are all the related party transactions. Ernst & Young's decision was the latest blow. Stock price plummeted. Short seller again. Hindenburg, the white knight of the market, apparently. No other companies are doing anything shady at all except SMCI. We immediately took it from under the radar to into the spotlight to onto the S&P to now we have to try to destroy it and decimate it. Shortly after, CEO said that it, quote, contains false or inaccurate statements about our company, including misleading presentations of information. I'll tell you what, excuse my language, but it'd be hot shit if the company comes out tomorrow and it's like, yeah, we beat on EPS, we beat on revenue, everything's great. This guy's a schmuck. This all came out of left field. We're sending our report and everything to the NASDAQ to regain compliance. We're not going to get delisted. Everything's going to be fine. And that's what I mean. That's why if we get a report like that, the stock may instantly shoot up back to like $70-$80 or something. The company hasn't filed audited financial reports. I know I'm being optimistic, but again, that's because I always liked it in the numbers. And over the years, as I showed you, it was a nice, steady, stable winner. It was a tech stock that was under the radar, that didn't get a lot of attention, so the traders, the short sellers didn't attack it. It was a good, growing business. And now all of a sudden, everything's illegal. Hasn't filed financial reports for the quarter ended June 30th. A day after Hindenburg published its report, the company released a statement saying that its management needed additional time to assess, quote, the design and operating effectiveness of its internal controls. That report, as with others before it, outlined Supermicro's deals with related parties, including Taiwan-based electronics firms Abelcom and CompuWare. So that's what I mean. This was on file for the last several years, earnings reports, but all of a sudden now it's an issue. Brothers of Supermicro are the chief executives of Abelcom and CompuWare, respectively. According to the disclosure, the two siblings are part owners of the companies they lead and sit on the boards of another firms. Now, listen, I appreciate the fact that people are looking at this saying, oh, yeah, well, your brother's on the board of that company, so, you gave the deal to them, and now they're doing great, and you're taking care of your whole family. I get it. Also, at the same time, though, we're kind of hammering this company because they're trying to stay within the family, which, in my opinion, family-run businesses, if they're done correctly, can, just go on for generations and generations. But, apparently with this company, it's an issue. But I will say this also, they may not be siblings, but we have to remember, if we really do research, if we look at a lot of the people on the boards of directors, a lot of the CEOs of these Fortune 500 companies and how they're connected, believe it or not, there was a lot of relationships and a lot of personal palm pressing and deals behind closed doors. A lot of these people have histories together, going to college together in the same fraternities with each other, right? Their fathers are friends, so now they're on the board of this company while this one's son is on the board of the other company and they just signed a deal together, right? We have this stuff happening all the time, every day in American business. But for some reason, it's a big issue with SMCI. You know what I think of as well? Not to go down that road again, but what about Nancy Pelosi? We talk about potentially investigating her and her trades. I remember during the lockdowns, right? They were talking about how they have to pump out more, vaccines and masks and everything like that. And I think it was Nancy Pelosi's husband randomly took a position in Kodak, which a lot of people were looking at, old technology, a potentially, dwindling business, right? Because we've shifted to smartphones, digital cameras, right? So we moved away from like Kodak film and what they used to bring to the table. So Kodak was viewed as almost like a Barnes and Noble, right? And again, I know, there's still an audience for it, but not really anymore. Something like Bed Bath & Beyond, right? How we used to see the numbers going down, but there was no proprietary business. So it was really only a matter of time, and then they ended up going bankrupt. So it's just funny how something like Kodak, to go back to that point, people don't remember this, but Kodak exploded in value. Her husband took a position in Kodak. And then we got a report that the government, contacted Kodak to see if they can make, masks or whatever they needed, right? There was, some shortage, and they wanted to tap Kodak to see if they can get involved in producing some of these, lockdown products that we needed. And of course, Kodak stock absolutely exploded. It went from like $2 to like $30 or $40 or something like that. No investigation though, right? I mean, this guy just randomly decided to buy this dwindling film stock that everyone forgot about, that fell from grace right as this news comes out, and the stock explodes, 2,000% almost overnight. But that's okay. But SMCI, oh, you got your brother on the board of another company? Ooh, shame on you. Shame on you. Business with Supermicro makes up a majority of net sales for Abelcom and CompuWare. In the case of Abelcom, it is, quote, a substantial majority. Supermicro relied on Abelcom for nearly all of the server enclosures sold during the 12 months ended June 30th, the last fiscal year for which Supermicro and Abelcom are also partners in the venture that manages the Supermicro Asia Science and Technology Park, a Taipei area business campus where both companies have offices. CompuWare, meanwhile, quote, manufactures motherboards, backplates, and other components used on printed circuit boards for Supermicro. To manufacture those components, CompuWare buys parts from Supermicro, then, quote, sells the products back to the Silicon Valley company. Okay. Quote, conflicts of interest may arise with Abelcom and CompuWare, and they may adversely affect our operations, Supermicro said in its most recently filed annual report. In its August report, short seller Hindenburg alleged that Supermicro has engaged in related party activity beyond what it has disclosed. In one example, Hindenburg noted that the website for Taiwan-based tech firm LeadTech shows servers for sale that are visually identical and have nearly identical technical specifications to ones sold by Supermicro. Okay. Visually identical and have nearly identical. Abelcom and CompuWare are the largest individual investors in LeadTech, and the brothers Steve and Bill were directors as of late last year, Hindenburg said in the report. They were directors of late last year. That's what I mean. So supposedly this has been going on for a year, but now you have an issue. I don't know. I don't know. And see this, to manufacture the components, they buy the parts from SMCI, then sell the products back. I don't know, man. I don't know. I really don't know what to make of it. Because what throws me off again is the timing. The timing of all of this really came out of left field. And again, we just looked at something like a Palantir. Money chunking in, stocks overvalued. I mean, who do we have to now look at every board of directors and see who they're connected to? Oh, this person has a sister on this company. That's why they used that company's service. Oh, we got to investigate the company. I mean, if we're really going to go down this road, that's why I'm saying it's laughable, because there were so many instances where people said, oh, this is market manipulation. This is stock manipulation. There's someone behind the curtain who's buying when we're all selling. There's someone who's selling when everyone's buying. I mean, people have made these accusations on stocks and the market in general for decades. So the fact that's what I mean. This research report comes out right after the company gets listed on the S&P, even though we're aware that all of this was going on, but now all of a sudden it's an issue. However, again, something like the Nancy Pelosi Kodak, that wasn't investigated on. And again, I hate to go down the rabbit hole. People, you remember 9/11? And supposedly, who was it? Silverstein took out insurance on the building, citing specifically plane crashes, and then that happened, and all of a sudden he got like a big check from the insurance company, right? You know what I mean? Like, that's what I'm saying. Again, and I'm not trying to go down a rabbit hole. I'm not trying to get into a conspiracy argument in the comments, but you understand my point. Like, there have been so many instances over time of people speculating, again, that there were some maybe illegal activities behind the scenes with a stock. There was, conspiracies. There were links between some of the people, and that's how all these events unfolded throughout our history, throughout our a capitalist society, like any way you want to look at it, whether it's general, whether it's in politics, whether it's in business. And that's why to immediately launch the investigation, I don't know. I really don't know what to make of it. In my opinion, it seems like they saw how fast they were growing and phone calls were made. That's how I'm personally looking at it. And people try to come at me sometimes in the comments, like, "Oh yeah, what you're probably buying it," or like, "How can you say that?" But I don't know. Again, maybe I'm just trying to read between the lines. Maybe I'm just too optimistic at this point. But again, for the record, I have no position in SMCI, no shares, no calls. I didn't play it a year ago when I spoke about it. So I personally have no vested interest in this entire situation. Whether SMCI goes to 126 or 6, I don't care. It doesn't affect me at all. But of course, on paper, in the videos, I've been saying I like it. So obviously, if it goes to 6, I'm going to look like a schmuck. But again, this is technically out of my control. But again, wasn't an issue until just recently. And that's why I come to my personal conclusion that I think phone calls were made. I think something happened. I'm telling you, something happened. And we can speculate, but I'm very, very curious to hear how all of this wraps up. But delayed the 10K. I'm going to wrap this up here because I'm already talking too long. Yep, NASDAQ compliance has until November 16th, right? So we have business/earnings report coming out tomorrow. And that'll give them what, like 10, 11 days to regain compliance. So, I mean, I'm sure they'll take whatever actions they need to take. It's just really bad timing. But this analyst here at Wedbush says, quote, "It arguably appears to be an uphill battle for SMCI to remain listed at this point." Well, yeah. Slash price target on SMCI to 32 from 62 while maintaining a neutral rating. Didn't respond. On August 27th, yep, short seller report, glaring red flags. It'd also be hot shit. Imagine like all of this is going on. They're delaying the filing. The stock is dropping even more, right? And then for all we know, the company might come out tomorrow. That's why I'm saying I'm expecting some random surprise, honestly. Oh man, if the company comes out and they're like, "Oh yeah, we beat on the top line, we beat on the bottom line, we're beefing up guidance moving forward. Oh yeah, by the way, thanks for crashing our stock down 80% because now we're buying back shares." Like, you understand what I'm saying? Who knows what is going to happen right now? And of course, it could be bigly negative, or it could also be surprisingly positive. So I don't know. We'll see. Then on October 30th, yep, they resigned. To file its 10K, and a reported DOJ investigation will take precedence over SMCI's quarterly report and guide. NVIDIA shifts from Supermicro, aims to ensure AI supply consistency, right? So technically there were no issues, but basically NVIDIA is saying, "Hey, listen, you got everyone and their brother coming after you now, putting you under the microscope. So you know what? We're just going to, move that business elsewhere for the time being so that we don't get disrupted. And, hopefully you come out and, everything's okay and we can go back to doing business." Said to be routing orders originally placed with SMCI to other vendors in order to minimize interruptions. This change seeks to steady NVIDIA's activities in light of financial reporting difficulties at Supermicro, whose failure to submit, Hindenburg Research. The AI server provider saw its sharpest weekly stock loss. NVIDIA is trying to maintain a consistent supply chain for the AI server market by rerouting orders to other suppliers. See, now that's what I mean. Should they get investigated now also? That's what I mean. For all we know, it could have been Dell who made a phone call about SMCI. Now they're being investigated. They lose the NVIDIA pipeline business. Now Dell's going to pick up the crumbs from the fallout. So, right? So Remember in Rush Hour, what do they say, right? Follow the money. Follow who benefits. Follow the rich guy. So, there you go. Where's the investigation? All of a sudden, you're getting all this business? I don't know. I mean, fair is fair, right? Yep. Okay. I'm pretty sure this is probably going to talk about Wedbush again. Yep. Yeah, now this new concern about the delisting, of course, is definitely something that investors don't want to hear. But again, technically, they have until November 16th. Today is the 4th. Wedbush says it believes, quote, SMCI being delisted might arguably be a best case outcome at this point. I have no idea what this guy's talking about. In my opinion, Wedbush is just waiting for this to bottom out so they can pile in. Why, that's a plus for Dell. Dell is a winner amidst troubles. Dell stock gained 7%. Quote, while we aren't here to speculate as to what SMCI may or may not be doing with its financials, we do think a tipping point has been reached after speaking to some industry contacts. You're talking to competitors. Of course they're going to say, oh, yeah, it's tipping point. Company's done. You know, don't do business with them. Call other people. I mean, come on, let's be serious. Rate Dell at a buy. Oh, okay, Dell's a buy. Yeah, price target 140. That's okay. Quote, make no mistake, Supermicro isn't just Dell's competitor. It's the, quote, it's the competitor for AI servers. And all of a sudden, everyone's going after him. Very interesting. That's why I think the way they do. And again, this is Amelius. Never heard of him, but this is an individual research analyst, right? That's what I mean. These aren't just my words. This is their words as well. Make no mistake, Supermicro isn't just Dell's competitor. It's, quote, the competitor for AI servers. That's why they saw such surging demand. That's why they guided forecasted revenue 100% growth year over year. Because they're a necessity, in my opinion. They are the competitor, as stated by this other analyst, not just me. That's why I think everyone's going after him right now. Because if we can beat him up, who knows, get him delisted off the NASDAQ, throw a complete wrench in that growth, and instead of paying, $1,500 a share to buy the company out, we might be able to pay $20, $30 a share, and they'll take it just because they're dealing with so much negativity. You understand? That's why I'm looking at it the way I look at it. Before last week's news, buyers had shrugged off worries over Supermicro recent issues, including a delay in filing 10K. But now, concerns about the company are being taken seriously. Ooh, yeah. Stock's down 80% from its highs. I'm pretty sure everyone's taking this seriously, maybe too seriously. Analysts continued, and even Nvidia is paying attention, considering what a sizable presence Supermicro is in the server space. The company is forecast to sell $27 billion in gear over the next year. Again, prior year was $14 billion. In the second quarter, it held about 7% of the market for AI servers, which is already seen as potentially bigger than $100 billion. And remember, we're just getting started here. That's why I was projecting before all this random negativity hit, I was projecting, in my opinion, at the time, $1,200 a share. That's why I was saying, yeah, 2,000, 2,400 a share in the numbers really shouldn't be a problem with the future growth that we're seeing potentially over the next 1 to 2 years. Going from 14 to 27 to, I don't even know, like 38 or 42, whatever the next year was. I mean, these are massive jumps in revenue. And at the time, look, it already held 7% of the market, which is valued at over 100 billion potentially at the time, with probably only more growth on the horizon. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's why I was saying, in my opinion, SMCI could potentially have been the new up-and-coming NVIDIA. Now all of a sudden, everyone's attacking them. Nvidia pulls the business from them. That's what I mean. That's why I feel someone's going to come in and try to act like they're saving the day when they're really going to be trying to swoop this company up for literal pennies on the dollar. And I swear, if I was on the board of SMCI, I would tell every single one of these people to go fly a kite. That means there could be a hole to fill. Enter Dell, which currently trades at a lower multiple than peers NetApp, Logitech, and Pure Storage, probably because they're not seeing the same growth as those. Any potential gains in AI could boost that valuation. The AI server category, Dell, serves is on its track to grow more than 20% over the next few years. So why not absorb this from SMCI as well? For all we know, again, I say Dell may be the culprit here. Quote, so how many multiple points should this add? If Dell's backlog, oh god, I swear, I see that word, it's like PTSD from STEM. If Dell's backlog soars by a few extra billions at some point over the next 12 to 18 months, it sure won't be nothing. So you mean like what we saw with SMCI before everyone took aim? Okay. So what? So if Dell starts to see this surge in revenue, then now we got to investigate them now? I don't know. Like I said, I always spoke about the lowball, underhanded toss-ups for earnings for a company as big as Nvidia. But no one questions those analysts. Oh, how come your revenue numbers were so low? How come, if the company, said they were going to see X percentage of demand last quarter, how come you didn't beef up the numbers even more going into this quarter? Right? No one has questions like that. But SMCI, ooh, bad boy. Supermicro scheduled to report. Yeah, first quarter business update. Like I said, it'd be hot shit if they just randomly surprise, blow estimates out of the water, and announce a buyback. And they're like, yo, you people are crazy. Business is great. We're going to the moon. I would really die laughing, honestly. Maintain neutral at Wedbush, but these people, again, they changed their price target and their rating, 8 times in the last 4 days. So I could really care less what Wedbush is saying. But like I said, they both got listed at the same time. All of a sudden, SMCI doing some shady stuff, but Dell could see the growth, and that's okay. But we switch over here to stock charts quick. I'll let you go. We had a pivot point right here, 23.68. Stock went down to 23.90 and then bounced a little bit. So, we're at a key level of support here. So if we do break, I mean, yeah, you may pull back down here to sub 15. You may see 12, 11. It may be possible. And again, they better find some massive illegal crap behind the scenes. Otherwise, this stock is going to explode to the upside. But we also have our 200-day moving average of 23.02. So if the stock does start to drop down and hit new lows, we may see a little support bounce right there at 23. But again, tomorrow is Tuesday, and supposedly we're going to get a report from the company. So if we dip down at the open, we might actually run up going into the close because people might think, all right, this is overextended, this is too much, we got to bounce the company up. RSI also back down to 32.6 now on the big drops here. This is on the weekly. So we're approaching that bottom benchmark. That's what I mean. If we do get some good news, boom, we might spike right back up there to 60s. Look at the RSI on the daily. 22.9. And it has happened before. And it was followed, of course, by decent little bounces. But I have a feeling everyone's just waiting to hear what the company themselves have to say here with this business report. And I said that trend line, right? We were looking at what? About $20. Support level, 20.68. So in my opinion, unless everything is perfect on this business report tomorrow, then chances are, in my opinion, they're going to take it down to 20. And again, maybe, who knows, 12, 11, who knows? Let's check the Bollinger Bands quickly before I let you go. But I do just find this whole situation very, very interesting. Bollinger Bands trumpeted out. Bottom Bollinger Band, 28.23. We're 10% below that. Switching over to the weekly. Yep, we began trumpeting down on the first drops, and we can see the bottom Bollinger Band, 18.21, which is why, again, we have to try to hold support here at the moving average at 23.02. And then we had, levels at around 20. And then we could potentially break down to the bottom band there of 18.21. But look at that MACD, essentially been slipping since that cross in mid-April. Just wild. It went from such a great story to everyone hates them, everyone thinks they're guilty, we have to destroy the stock. $15 billion market cap, PE sub 15. Company brings in over $5 billion in revenue last quarter, has a $15 billion market cap. Company brings in $15 billion for the year, has a $15 billion market cap. It's too much. It's too much. Again, am I being too optimistic? Am I acting like this isn't bad news? No, it is bad news. These are not the types of headlines you want surrounding your investment. I mean, we know that, right? But this is a massive pullback. And again, this is now lower than where it was before it started to gain all this attention. So even if these numbers here were a little overinflated, that's what I mean, to completely reset the stock, seems like a massive overreaction. Because now I still say now, if we do find out, oh yeah, a couple of $1 million worth of orders shouldn't have gone through, and, these numbers were a little bit better than they should have been, and that's what I mean. How much are we going to punish the stock even if we do find out there was wrongdoing? Because it's already lower than it was when it started. So that's what I mean. What, $5? Like, where are we going? And people keep saying, oh, well, it happened in 2018. You're giving them too much credit. You're being too optimistic. Right. It happened in 2017, 2018. The stock continued to drop. And then over time, it started to rage like crazy. That's what I mean. After the stock split. Oh, it happened in 2018. All right. And now with the stock split, stock was $2 and it hit 120. So, yeah, it happened last time and everyone made an immense return. So that's what I mean. Oh, it's happening again, where you got to bring it down. Okay, and then probably over time, right? You understand what I'm saying? So that's why, unfortunately, no one knows where the bottom is. But, again, if we technically pull all the way back here, I mean, you're looking at like 10, 11 bucks. I mean, I don't know, man. Unless they come out and they say, like, you can no longer do that business because you guys are related. That's what I mean. Unless we hear a report like that, and we're immediately going to see, like 10, 15 billion less on this forecasted revenue number. You understand what I'm saying? Then we can chunk the stock down because we just lost big business in value. But if it's like, oh yeah, you're on probation for, 12 months or what, you have to pay a fine. That's what I mean. Depending on what this outcome is going to be, this massive move, as much as it might hurt, might be short-lived. We don't know. We don't know. And again, every time I come out and make a video and say, I like it and I'll give the company the benefit of the doubt, they come out with more and more negative news, supposedly. So, unfortunately, we don't have the crystal ball. Look at the flatness. But we don't have a crystal ball, of course, but I don't know. I'm very curious to hear about this report tomorrow. And I know a lot of shareholders, started to jump in and add to the position as it was trending. And then as it was selling off from the highs, people thought, like 60, sub 50, 40 was a good buy. And now the stock's down here in the low 20s. So unfortunately, these things do happen. Just the fact that, 8 things all happened at the same time to SMCI is just very unfortunate. And that's why I say again, with all of the nonsense and BS behind the scenes that people have been speculating something shady may be going on for years and years and decades, to have everyone all at the same time jump down SMCI's throat, I have a feeling that there's something bigger taking place that we're not aware of. But that's pretty much it. I just wanted to update you on the on this trend line and those pivot points, also talking about a potential pullback to 20. And of course, we have this report coming out, so we'll jump on, we'll do an update, we'll look at the report together tomorrow after the close. But that's pretty much it. I'll end it there. Once again, Stocks by the Numbers. I want to thank you for stopping by. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, drop it down in the comments section. I'm usually pretty quick to reply. Thumbs up algorithm helps me get more eyes on the channel. And of course, subscribe to the channel. That is our handshake agreement. That is how you help me help you. But of course, more importantly, moving forward, like I always say, I understand that markets are rocky and volatile and very uncertain. So I want to wish all of you success. I hope everyone makes a couple of dollars. Thank you for your time. Have a good day.